Welcome back, folks. This is episode 56. It's about your paycheck. And today we got a guest. We're going to talk about nursing and how complicated pay stubs can be for nurses. But before we get into that, what's up, Walt? How you doing, sir?
Man, I'm good. No complaints. Just trying to be grateful and thankful for another day, man. I said this year's already flying by, but I'm good, man. How about you?
I'm good, bro. I'm happy, man. I got my lifelong friend, man. I think we've been friends since sixth grade.
Wow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
When I was getting ready today, I was thinking Brian was my bully when I was a kid. I don't know if he considered
Brian
himself
the
a
bully.
bully then, but
I
Ryan was
did.
my
I did
bully.
it.
Like that is
So
one of them, and
It's crazy.
bully came up one time in a conversation with some other friends, and they said your bullies make you a better man because a bully makes you kind of like say, all right, I need to beef up, and I was doing push-ups at home, ready to
Oh my
fight Brian. He
god.
didn't even know it.
You know what it was? He was a new kid in the
yeah.
school. So we were all like, oh, and then all the girls liked all the new cute guys. So he was just taking a lot of shine from me and my
Yeah,
crew. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So you were being a
So
hater.
I was being a hater, and he had this great smile. So that's what we started with. We call him Smiley,
yeah.
and
Okay.
So I
then we
never
got
smiled
cool though.
again. Yes. I never smiled again because of that shit. I would practice me mugging in the mirror because it was a habit to always smile. Everybody told me I had a nice smile, so I was always cheesing it. And then I
Yo,
said, we was growing up in a tough neighborhood. And I was like, I can't really smile like
can't
that
be
no more.
smiling
This is
like that.
causing
Exactly.
me a problem.
Wow.
But then we got cool. Then that's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We were friends. I mean, yeah. After
Yeah.
that, it wasn't
Luckily,
long.
nothing ever took place.
Nah.
I think it just all smoothed out.
Nice,
Yeah,
You,
man.
we didn't know you. So we
I
had to. It was
didn't,
like
I didn't
hazing.
like,
It was like
I didn't
hazing.
like,
It's a hazing.
I didn't like the girl that he dated anyway. Like
Exactly.
like leave me alone.
Oh God, man.
Oh my god.
But it was one of them towns where you needed to like even the soft guys were tough, so
Yeah, word.
Yeah.
you had to kind of step it up.
That's what's
Yeah,
up.
yeah, man. So fast forward a million years later, and we're doing this show, and he hit me up on a DM one day and was just like, "Man, you guys should do nursing." And I was like, "Yes, we're trying to. You need to come on and
Yeah.
talk about it with us." And Anthony, you jump in for whatever it is, but like one of the
Yep.
things that I see for nursing that I never understand is why there's so many different codes on one paycheck for one pay period. Like maybe you could start there for us, and why is there so many different codes?
So there within nursing there are a lot of different degrees to begin with, right? You got your LPNs that are your nurse, but you're limited to a scope of practice, right? And then you got your RN with their associates. Again, they may be able to do a little bit more. And then you have your RN with a bachelor's, who kind of is you can exchange the RN with the bachelor's with the associates. They're just able to manage at some places and others. Some places they
Ah,
don't even care no more. You just kind of get your bachelor's to get it,
right.
because you want to move on and maybe do leadership at some point. So those are one of the breakdowns in pay in the sense of how much you earn, right? Plus your skills and your seniority. But then it
Gotcha.
starts to break down per shift. You need it's a 24-hour period in a day,
Yep.
so you need
Mm.
somebody 24 hours in a hospital. So you're going to get your night shift differential, your evening differential, and then there's some places have like a ladder system. If
What's
you
that?
have these certifications in this particular area, you're level 2 on that ladder. If you are trauma certified, you're level 3 on that ladder,
Oh,
Mm.
right? And then it's a business. A hospital is a lot of people. I became a nurse. I felt like it was a calling for me. As tough as I thought I was, it was something that always drew me to wanting to help people, or even hold back in when my boxing career, or whenever I entertained combat sports. There was this, like, I didn't have that finishing moment, that kill moment in me, and I just knew this was where I belonged. I got so much gratification from my patients, from my coworkers, from my leadership, of always complimenting, how I helped people.
that's what's up. Thank you
So
for that. Thanks for your service, man.
yes,
Yeah.
sir, yes, sir. So it was a calling for me. So it's not so much about the money, but at the end of the day, this is how I pay my bills, right?
No
Yep.
doubt.
This is how I need to earn. So I do look at my paycheck from time to time, and I'm like,
And
how am I?
So we talk about that on the show a lot because a lot of people don't look at their paycheck because they don't have
Hmm.
so many line items. There's nothing to
Yeah.
look at really, as long as
Hmm.
their money is kind of where they should be. But it's interesting that you said you do look at it from time to time because there's a lot of
Hmm.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we productivity hours, how many hours that you've been there on a 2 week period, they break it down there. Then the different shifts that you work. So and then the shifts, even though you're working so I do something called a mid shift, but
What is
say if
that?
we even did, so there's a 12-hour, we do 12-hour shifts, right?
Yo,
So some people generally do 7 to 7.
okay,
And then from
seven
so
to seven.
7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then
Right,
the next shift comes on 7 p.m. to say 7 a.m.
7 a.m. Okay.
At some point, someone in leadership realized, hey, this gap of set, when it starts coming from that, getting closer to 7 p.m. and the 7 a.m.s are coming on, like that gap period, our nurses maybe don't, feel as strong or as sharp. Why don't we get
Hmm.
somebody to come in at 10 and work till 10 p.m.? Somebody that comes in at 12 and works. So you're able, my shift is 10 to 10. I go in
Oh
at 10
wow.
p.m. and I finish at 10 p.m. I go in at
At
10
10
a.m.
a.m.
and finish at
Okay.
10 p.m. So that middle ground for me, I'm pumping, like my blood is pumping. I've been there a little while. I know my patients,
Right.
da da da, and I'm able to keep it going. So that's the productivity hours, and then of course I just have my sheet in front of me because there is a lot of lines. The there's weekend differential besides the
Oh
evening and
wow.
night differential,
Wow.
but to get back to that point of the mid shift differentials. So because I come in at 10 a.m. and I finish at 10 p.m., I don't count for that night differential, even though I'm there feeling like I'm there pretty late, right? The
Really?
night, yeah, you have to be able to start, I believe, at 12 or 12 in the afternoon, and then and then it'll count from 7 p.m. to 12. So you only get, so on a, let's say on Thursdays I go in at 11. On that day, for some reason, I get 4 hours, 3, 4 hours a night the evening differential pay. So I get a
Uh,
couple of extra dollars because of that 1 hour, I'm able to move it ahead, right?
wow.
Mm.
But then,
So
but
it
then
breaks it down almost by the hour. In that 24 hours, some hours are worth more than others.
Oh.
Wow.
Yep. And then besides that, you get your weekend differential. So I work every weekend because I want to capitalize on that extra couple of dollars that
Right.
I get on weekends. Weekends for me
Oh,
are
so you get your day off during the week?
during the week. I work 3 days a week. So I work
Oh, okay.
Saturday, Sunday, and then I work Wednesday.
Ah,
So
Nice.
okay.
which is very cool about a nursing schedule because you're able to do so many other things, right? That's
Yeah.
how I was able to continue with my combat career as a nurse. Or I've tried real estate, I've cut hair, I've done a couple of other different things.
I didn't realize at one point, did you try to fight professionally?
More like amateur. I was just trying to get into it amateur, just get my feet wet
Really?
and see how things went.
Ah, I didn't
So
know that.
I've
No
done
doubt.
little smokers, but nothing that was ever
Really?
really necessarily counted. Yeah. And I've
Oh,
done a
wow.
lot of jujitsu tournaments, which is like a wrestling tournament, if you've ever attended one of
Do
those.
you keep
So
record? What, you know what your record
yeah,
is?
no, no, I count my trophies. I got like 50 trophies
Oh,
in my garage.
okay.
Yeah,
That's what's up.
mostly
All right.
first
That's what's
place.
up. No doubt.
There was a day I in a jujitsu competition. So because I was already in my 30s when I started messing with the jujitsu tournaments, I would enter a master's division. So that's
Okay.
anybody over 30. So I was the grown men, right? But then I would
Hmm.
do, because I'm still a little crazy and felt like I had something, I'd enter the 18 and over competitions too.
What?
So then you
Wow.
would do gi and no gi. So I fought 13 times one day. It is jujitsu, so you're not scrapping really, but you're choking.
It's
You're trying, they was trying to choke me,
choking.
and I was trying to
Yeah.
choke them. So they score it, or you get somebody to tap out. But if you ever can, you should
That's
attend one. They
nuts.
have a lot of them around in different locations.
No
But
doubt.
it definitely changed me and made me more disciplined as
That's
a
what's
man
up.
and as a person. But
Do you think it helped your nursing career at all?
I was just gonna ask
absolutely,
that.
absolutely, because so whenever someone becomes aggressive at work, and I work in the emergency room, so a lot of times
Oh,
people
oh
do
man.
get tight real fast.
Yeah.
Whether they want their water, their med, or for somebody to get to their mom or sister or whoever quicker. So first of all, like to me, I get it. I've been in that position, like
Yeah.
wanting the person I
Your
love
loved
to be
one is
fixed.
hurting. Yeah.
Right, they're
Yeah.
hurting. I want them fixed. Please help them.
Yep.
Somebody, they're more important to me than anybody else in that moment, right?
Mm.
So I get that, and I feel like the average person can't hurt me anymore, right? I feel like I have this skill that I'm able to stop somebody if I need to. So
Yeah.
when someone comes at me aggressively, I don't feel threatened. I don't respond that way. And I definitely always feel that most people that get aggressive just either feel disrespected or unheard. And
Yeah.
at that point, I'm able to just say, hey, like, tell me what you need and I'm going to help you. You
That's
know,
what's
I
up.
respect you and I just want to know what you need. And then they just
Wow.
chill out. They just chill out, man. They chill out. They tell me what they need. I'm able to usually fix it for them. You know,
That's
So
what's
it
but
up.
actually gives you a calm, like this
absolutely,
sense of calm
absolutely.
that you can keep because you know you're not gonna
Yeah.
hurt me.
Yes.
So let's try to talk this out
Let's try to
first because
fix
there's
it.
no,
And then
yeah,
even if
that's
I
dope.
was like not feeling that way, like and I was an aggressive person and I wanted to be. It almost feels unfair. Like
Hmm.
when it comes to like jujitsu on an average person, you almost feel like you're fighting a child who's like throwing
Wow.
punches and kicks at you. But you're like, all right, you know, if I grab you, I can put you on the floor and choke you out. I can make you say uncle, you know.
Right.
So it's like it's pointless. There's no challenge in it, right? So you don't feel
Wow.
challenged in fighting with anybody. So you kind of just usually uh, verbally kind of just de-escalate the situation
That's dope.
as
That's
opposed
what's up.
to, you know, saying let's step outside or something, you know.
That's a for those that don't know Anthony. That's a big maturity step. When we were younger, you
Absolutely,
just
absolutely.
scrapped,
I was a
running toward
hothead.
the fights, and
Yeah, I
No.
was
it
about that
was
life. So you know that is why I feel like nursing and healthcare was a big call for me because even then in high school I ended up volunteering for the local fire department and then the local
uh,
rescue, which is the ambulance.
yeah,
And I was able to do that, finding that thrill, that rush I was getting from the same
Ah,
thing of
from
being at a
helping people.
nightclub or some friends. And we get into something, you get that same kind of rush. Like I've had a couple of guys we went to school with coming through the emergency room, whether they were
Oh
cut,
wow.
stabbed, shot. Like I've seen guys come in, you know, and I was able to help them, and I still get the rush, right? Like I still get my
hmm
adrenaline pumping, everything. And then so I was able to like man, you know, like change that about myself because of that, and found that thrill in helping,
That's amazing, bro.
in
that's
I'm
good.
nursing.
we've just been like catching up over the last few weeks, and I'm like, damn, I'm so proud of you, bro. It was so nice to see
Thank you
like
so
your
much. I appreciate that,
evolution.
brother.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No
Same for
doubt.
you. Because
Thank you,
there
bro.
was a point also that you we came into each other's lives to help my nephew Christian, who was
Yeah,
born with his intestines out, and then he ended up developing cancer as he was like seven, I think 7 or 8 years old, and I told Brian about it, and he was like, "Hey man, I want to help. Like, what can we do?" And we decided to put a fundraiser together, and we were super successful at
yeah,
all of it. I mean, we had parties at comedy places, we had parties
yeah.
in bars. We raised a lot of money. We were able to donate to the hospital, donate to both the parents, and we got the kid a PlayStation, you know,
That's what's
and
up.
you know, it was fun. It was fun. I loved it. I think it got a little rough at times. Whenever there's money, everybody wants to know where the money is, and luckily we kept receipts and we
Good.
did our due diligence about always keeping that up.
And I
So
never thought about it after that. Like, for me, I was happy to
yeah,
help do it.
yeah, it was
And you're talking about money now, and I'm like, oh yeah, I never really, because
yeah.
I just trusted that,
That
you
was
know,
doing. We were all doing the right thing. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
People
Yeah.
ask me, like
yeah,
his mom, my brother, like,
no
but
way,
no, you know, I'd had receipts on everything because I knew that
that's good.
that might come. You know, somebody
Yeah.
had warned me, hey, it doesn't matter who it is,
Yeah.
they're gonna
And
ask
then
for
people got to
receipts. So
understand, like, you got to pay for expenses too. Like,
yes,
because not
the
everybody
shirts.
that we had do stuff for us did it for free.
No, they
They
Yeah.
gave discounts, but they
they
needed
gave
their.
exactly, but we had to
Mhm.
pay them. So,
Yes,
it
super
is what it
successful.
is.
And if I didn't say thank you enough, then thank you
Oh
again.
man, of
You
course,
know,
bro. Like, yeah, of course, man. That was,
Christian,
yeah.
of course, he's still around. He does great. He puts down floors. He works out.
You sent me that
He's
picture of him, bro. I was like,
yes,
holy
yes.
cow, look at that.
He had gained some weight, and then he came down to Florida. He was like, "This is my fat camp. Let's get to it." And he worked out for like 3 months. He lost 60 pounds. He
Damn.
I taught him how to like do a couple of different trades where he was able to go home and make some money. And he sent me this long text one day, had me in tears because I was like, "Damn, I didn't know." I thought we were just I thought I was just helping him get in shape, and he said
You
I did
never
so
know.
much for him as a person.
What's
And
up?
then he
You never know.
introduced him to boxing and kickboxing, and he still practices, which is awesome. So
Awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
shout out to Christian because he definitely brought that out of us to
Heck yeah,
see that
absolutely.
entrepreneur in us, right? To go and
Yes.
negotiate and make deals with these people and get this
Yep.
stuff done. We got on the radio. There was
Yep.
people from different countries like in contact with us.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Yeah, we did a lot,
Man, that's
man.
awesome.
I forgot
back
about.
to the I
No,
go
look,
on
part of
tangents
it is
sometimes.
catching me
Yes,
too,
yes, for
but part
sure.
of too. But so yes, back to the
So
paycheck, and
so
again, we're talking about how complex it is for nurses to understand their check because there's so many
Hmm.
different codes. We've now established that some hours are worth more than others, some days are
Hmm.
worth more than others because of the
yep.
weekends,
Hmm.
right? Undesirable times are
Yep.
worth more. Yeah,
Hmm.
just to bring up something that you mentioned earlier, and I know my wife is also a nurse too, so I know
Hmm.
these some of these things is there's bonuses that I remember
Yes.
through COVID, people
Yes.
nurses got rich. Some nurses got rich in
Yeah.
COVID
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
because
Especially
they
especially in NY. Yeah.
right because there
Yeah.
was like if you sign on to this 6 week contract, you're getting X
Hmm.
amount, and those are the nurse. Did you travel at all during COVID?
So I was lucky to get a job. So I don't want to say where I went, but it was
No,
like a
no, no. But yeah.
government facility I was able to kind of hook up with, and I was part of the
Wow.
research. So I did some cool stuff like with them
What?
there. Testing
Holy cow.
employees, giving incentives for people to be part of the research and stuff like that. I mean,
That's
I
great.
don't want to say that like I was like being Mr. Scientist. I was carrying a
No,
carrying
but you were
carrying a little shot.
support staff
I
of
was
that.
support staff. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
of
That's what's up.
course.
I was part of it, and it felt good because I was
Yeah.
able to sit at those tables, with these people and kind of figure stuff out, and what was
Look at
working and
that.
That's
what we were
amazing.
seeing, what the results were.
That's
So
dope.
that's what I was at. But there was a day that because at the time, so my wife is also a nurse, and we had to sit down and say who was going to go to work because we didn't know if we were going to come home with COVID, or if we are home at all. People were dying.
Wow.
Yeah.
They said there was thousands of nurses that died around the world that
Oh shit.
nobody ever like
I didn't even
really
think
made a
about that.
right. How many nurses went to
Wow.
work and then never
What did
came
you
home to
guys
their
do?
families? So we decided that I was going to go. I had got this new job, and then she had took some time off originally because I we just it was hard. We
Yeah.
would like we cried at that conversation. And then
Wow.
when and it was a stressful time, right? Because now you had to suit up for work every day. You had to, the gown, from all the gear we would have to
The
put on,
mask,
glasses,
yep.
masks, every day. Before you even got in your car, right? Because that car ride home, all of that stuff. So my son, who at the time was around like 11, 12, uh, really stepped it up, man. He was packing our lunches. Like I had wrote an
Oh wow.
article about him, and it almost got published, and I never went through with it because he was like, "Hold on, Dad, like don't like he's a little more on the humble side."
No doubt.
And he was like, I don't, he's like, I did
I
that
didn't
for
do it
us.
for
That's
that.
what I was
Yeah.
supposed to do. I'm your
No
son.
doubt. Oh, God
But
bless
he
him.
stepped it up, man. He really
That's
did.
what's up.
My other son Gavin was a lot younger at the time, and he was there for
That's
him a
what's
lot.
up.
So
Wow.
my
So a lot
my
Wow.
of
boy
so a lot
Ryan,
of people
yeah,
made
yeah, a lot
money
of people.
during that time, and
Yep, you
that
would get
bonuses, different contracts, travel nursing is also a thing, right? And people make
travel nursing
money.
is
They
a
make
big
more
thing.
money.
Yes, so what they'll do, some agencies will set up a contract for you if you travel out of state, and they'll give you a stipend for food, rent, extras, whatever it is, and sometimes they'll have relationship with different hotels, or they'll give you that stipend in a check, and then
Right.
you're able to
Like a living.
go to a relative's house or wherever, Airbnb, wherever you need to go. The smart nurses were coming together through these
Yes.
websites and saying, "Hey, look, I'm going north. This is where I'll be. Anyone want to get together?" They
Interesting.
find out two or three are going to go at the same place. They link up.
Yep.
They link up. Now they can split that Airbnb. They can split those meals. So there was tons of nurses making good money, and it was well deserved too.
Yeah.
I wish that we could always be compensated as fairly as we were then for the risk we were doing because we take that risk every day.
Yeah, bro.
People,
Even and I didn't know you were ER nurse. Like even in
yeah,
the ER is
Yeah.
crazy.
yep.
Um,
So for
let me.
specialties,
Is there a differential for just for being in the ER?
yes, there is.
Oh,
So
nice.
I believe it's like a critical care. So
Right.
you in the ICUs in the emergency department, we
Yes.
do we do get a little bit more, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, because I hear my
Hmm.
wife talking about the nurses always want to go to the ICU, ICU, ICU.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
ICU nurses and emergency department nurses don't get along that well. Most most.
Why?
So because I think that. So when you come into the emergency department, regardless of what's wrong with you, we want to patch you up as quick as we can, stabilize you, and get you to
Yeah.
the floor. We're not
Right.
worried if you're right hand dominant or what your if you're what your religion is. So a lot of that charting needs to be done for insurance purposes. So when they get to the floor, they're like,
Oh,
you missed charting on this, and
you didn't do any of the
we don't know what the
charting.
guy eats in the afternoon, and if they had a diet or not.
Oh,
So the ER nurses are like, they like
I
you
get it.
bugging, like get out of here, like we're not worried about that, like
Uh,
we just trying to get them to the floor because we got somebody
It
else
makes
really
sense.
coding, in the next
Yeah,
room, and now we
it
got to
makes
run over
sense.
there and do our thing,
Right.
But
We gotta hand them off. Like, hey, you
yes.
guys have the time to do, then the luxury to do that. You don't have in the ER. You don't have that
mm,
luxury. I would
So
imagine.
yeah, so usually, right, depending on the size of the facility, depending on what level of trauma they are, because sometimes which another cool part of the job is sometimes when them helicopters start to pull up, right, and you got to run
Mm,
outside and with a stretcher and grab the patient and put them on the stretcher and then run them back in the hospital.
wow,
Like think about that, right? So
that's
there
crazy.
was one time, and I even shared it with my wife because it was like I felt like I was on a show, like on TV. I was like, this is like a joke, and
No doubt.
I so in the ED, I can't say I'm like somewhere high on the totem pole of skill level, right? I'm a lower level guy there, right? Because of my degree. So sometimes because of my strength, they'll call me over, right? Because pushing that stretcher up that hill when it
Mm-hmm.
comes off that
Yep.
helicopter, get with all the machines, everything attached, sometimes get a little heavy, so they'll grab a meal, and then I'm bilingual and I'm strong, so it just kind of works, right? So they'll be
Nice.
like, Tony, we need you. Boom, I run over, whatever. So it was like three blonde headed girls coming out the helicopter, hair like waving everywhere, like they got the
Oh,
blue jumpsuit
hilarious.
on, and I was just, it was like this is like a movie. Like
This is
I
TV.
was
Yeah.
trying to listen to what they were saying to do and grab and move, and because at that moment, right, you can't let that really take away from what you're doing, but
Right.
you
yeah,
Right.
know
yeah,
Stay
what's going
focused.
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
but
Okay.
besides that, yep. So the skill level, there's and those are nurses jumping off those helicopters to
Oh wow.
those are
Wow.
other nurses, yeah. And then we work alongside paramedics also. You got your EMS that comes in, and there's usually a nurse who delegates where that stretcher goes when they come off.
Oh
And
wow.
the particular place where I kind of usually put is called Remy, or quick care. So it's usually a place where the kids come in, or if it's somebody broke a bone, cut themselves pretty bad. What we get a lot. I got a lot of recently, which is kind of crazy. Is the guy was like, I was holding this piece of wood for my son to cut it with a chainsaw, and it's like he nicked me, and it was like,
Oh my
like what?
God.
Like why? Why would you do
Why would
that?
you do
Why are
that?
you giving your
Yes.
happen, right? And that's why we're there. So a lot of times, or there's somebody who comes in with the sniffles, right? And they want care too. And a lot
Yeah.
of times there are nurses who get upset, right? And say, why is this person coming? To me, I don't care. I know that that's making the hospital money. I
Yep.
really try to keep both balances in my head, that I'm there to help everybody,
That's right.
regardless of their problem or issue. And I'm also understand it's a business. They have
Yep.
to charge for this service, which somehow trickles down to me.
Yeah.
So I don't care if I got to see 1,000 patients in a day, and I don't care if some of them got the sniffles of why they come in. But I believe this is where the urgent cares are starting to come around, and there's
Yes.
just they end up being more expensive. I've heard. I'm not
They
positive
are.
on
Yep.
how that works out, but
Well,
there's a
I could
difference
tell you
between the
from.
emergency rooms and the urgent cares.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why either, but I can tell you from the HR side of things and being part of benefits conversations, we often tell employees to seek out an emergency room over the urgent care because of the billing and the pricing of it all. And sometimes they don't see, well, it depends on copays, you know,
Uh-huh.
and we don't, it's not always an employee impact, it's the back end impact. It's the
Yes.
employer, the
Yes.
plan, the company that's
Yeah.
trying to get you this medical
Yes.
plan. But if you keep going to urgent cares, you're running up the plan as opposed to, hey, it's going to be cheaper you to go to ER.
And
I
look,
don't know why either.
So
and
But
and,
what's
so
up?
and another thing that happened, something that happened to me, is I went to the urgent care, and they ended up sending me to the ER anyway.
yes,
Yes.
because they don't have the same capabilities at times.
Yeah.
Some of the urgent cares over here that we're attached to, the hospital that I work for does have a couple of urgent cares, and I recently, one of my managers asked me to go over there for a day, and kind of
Oh.
learn the process in case that they need some help. I can help. So
Oh, that's dope.
so I went and checked it out. It was kind of a little intimidating because
Really?
the whole setup was in there. Like I mean, to run a code, to run a trauma, like whatever,
Wow.
if something really went down, is there. There's a doctor, there's me, and there was like two other nurses. So and because of where it is, right? If there was an emergency and something happened and they brought them there, it would have been on us to keep them alive until we can transport them. And when you hold all that responsibility, just a thought of it kind of is intimidating at times, regardless of your skill level, and that's another reason why I don't mind working quite often 3 or 4 days a week or when they call me in because that's like a refresher for me every day, when
Right.
I'm drawing blood because you end up getting really good at your skills, and it's important to
Yeah.
be able to get things done quickly, efficiently, and then be able to get the result that they're looking for, the doctor is looking for. Nursing has progressed so much that nurses are able to do a lot more than we've ever been able to do. Even LPNs, our scope has been opened in Florida, I think, because of the necessity.
Wow.
But at the same time, I don't think this is what Florence Nightingale was looking for us to do, right? She was like, she was probably going like, she come down now, she'd be like, "What are you doing?"
What are
Like,
you
that's the
doing?
doctor's
Yeah.
job, right? That's what they went to school for. But a lot of times the doctor kind of just give direction from somewhere, and then tell us what to do and how to do it, and we'll get it done. Um,
Wow.
Yeah, man.
so it puts a lot of stress on nurses at times, right? Because of all these new their scope being open so much that they're able to do so much, and now you're doing so much for your patient. It kind of limits the time you have to interact on a human level, right? To go up to them and say, "Hey, Brian, how you doing today, Brian? My name is Tony. I'm here for this. I'm here for that," which is like nursing 101, like, right,
Right.
that
That
human
bedside
kind
manner.
of, that bedside manner, exactly. And I've unfortunately I've seen it, and I've done it probably before, where I just kind of go in, forget to introduce myself, I'm grabbing their arm trying to get blood, and they're like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, my fault." Yeah, I just
Just
get caught up in that
automated. Yeah, you kind of
because
automatic.
there's 10 other people waiting for me to come and swab them for the flu or whatever else it may be, right? So you kind of want to, when that happens, and if that does happen, I always take a deep breath and go, I need to remember, like the purpose. What's the 101? My to go in there and introduce yourself, because I do believe, like, love heals. Like when you care about somebody, right? Like for
Hmm.
Christian, what we did for him, it wasn't about so much about the financial portion, but about family and friends, all that came
Hmm.
together and
Support.
showed so much love and support that it helped him feel like he was loved, and I believe that healed him, because
No doubt.
since then he's had no issues,
Wow.
and that's huge for me. So that example is what I try to remember, and there's tons of nurses who have a similar story and why they get into
Wow.
nursing, and and those are the nurses that really make a difference, those who've went through something in life that made them say, "I want to be like that nurse, or that person that helped me, or that person that helped my loved ones. I want to be just like them one day, right? I want to wear that
Yeah.
cape,
Yeah.
but with a level of modesty, we need to do that, right? Because as much as that, it will go to your head. You're running around saving people all day,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you start like walking around like you God or something. And I'm really like exaggerating when I'm using that reference, but
No, but I get it.
it gets to people's heads a little bit, right?
Mm.
But we're human, and I think the most important thing is to kind of be respectful to everybody, and treat them all the same,
I love it.
Yeah.
I
That's
love it.
awesome, man.
What else about your check, man? What are things that
So
what's unique?
so like you were saying with the before, I'm trying to think of what it would be called, like, so in emergencies like COVID, or like we're short staffed, so there's a
Hmm.
surge, and so in Florida, a lot of time when northerners come up down to
Come down.
Florida,
Yeah.
yeah, for the snowbird season,
Yep.
all of a sudden our ERs get packed again, right? Because
Mm.
grandma slipped, grandpa's
Hmm.
get,
Hmm.
cut his finger, whatever it may be. We get this surge, and we have the same amount of nurses that we're caring for, let's say 50 people, now are got to care for that 100 that's doubled up,
Yeah.
Mm.
and
Oh, interesting.
it's like they forget to add the staff sometimes, because you don't always know
Yeah.
when that's going to be necessary. I think I got to plug my laptop in. I didn't realize the battery's almost dead. But so for the sake of the word is that emergency pay. They'll call you in and be
Gotcha.
like, hey, we got bonuses for you if you want to come in. Sometimes
Okay.
they'll be $5, sometimes they'll be $10, but on that hour, right? So it's like, all
Wow.
right, no problem, I'll be right there, but
Yeah,
that
heck
gets
yeah.
taxed. So on the breakdown of all of that, it's frustrating at times to see that your productivity hours is X amount of dollars. Then you got your OT. Then you got your differential for your weekends, your differential for your evening pay, and then
Mhm.
you're supposed to be having this bonus pay, but it's all separate. So it's not, it's almost like they don't want to stack. So as much as I understand it's a business, I have to be aware of that for my business, my finance also, and
Yeah, for
Mhm.
real.
know the legalities of it. Like how much are they really getting away with, like, and not letting us being able to stack up. And is OT OT then at that time? Is it just OT,
Mhm.
or are we gonna base or are we gonna separate it?
That's a good that's a good question because OT should
Yeah.
be OT. Um, the only thing about Florida is that we don't have. So Florida, we benefit from not paying state taxes, right? State
Yes.
income taxes.
Uh huh.
But what I say on the show all the time is there's a double-edged sword to that because that means we don't have an agency looking out for our best interests. We
As the
default
state would.
like New York. Think about so for New York, shoot, they have you have the state and city taxes, but you
Hmm.
have Department of Labor's there. You have the their government agencies there, like setting rules that are
Mhm.
in our
Yes.
benefit. We talk about that on the shows all the time, and California really leads the way with what we call employee centric
Yeah.
behavior because they have overtime in a day and overtime in 7 day stretches or 6 day stretches.
Mhm.
Nevada has overtime in a day and also a premium if you work too many hours within a 24-hour period.
Yep.
So again, like we kind of lose out for not in Florida for not having that a government agency kind of regulating and looking out
Yes.
for our best interests. So that might be some of the challenge or some of the downside, but still, federal law is after 40 hours in a pay period, in a work week rather, and that's where
Yes.
they could be getting, that's how they can get away with things. Is like, oh wait, well that day is in a different work week,
Hmm.
so you don't, it doesn't count toward overtime. But
Yeah.
look, like we urge people all the time, um, is to don't be afraid to like go look at your. Or did we lose Tony?
Looks like it froze up a little bit.
Yeah, excuse me.
Did
He
we
was
did we
saying
mention on call pay?
no.
I wanted to ask him about that if
Yeah.
that's one of the other things that they have too.
All right, we'll let him come back.
Okay.
You know what? Perfect time while he's gone. Let's
Pay the
go ahead and pay the
bills.
bills.
All right. So, as you're setting ambitious goals for 2025, remember that a well organized team is the foundation for success. So, in 2025, streamline your business operations with Time Track Go. Their user friendly time tracking software empowers you to get organized. So, say goodbye to those messy spreadsheets, those inaccurate time entries. Effortlessly track the employee hours with their user friendly time clock, streamline those time off requests and approvals with their intuitive system, and automate that vacation and those sick leave policies.
Word up, because if you're ready to make 2025 your most productive year yet, sign up for a free trial of Time Track Go today and experience the difference. If you're having trouble punching in and we're talking about checks, yo, we're back. We were just doing a commercial while you went off.
Yeah.
So we're telling folks if you're having trouble punching in and out of your system to get with our partner, Time Track Go. And in just minutes, you can increase your productivity, reduce your payroll errors, improve employee satisfaction, and it'll give you more time to focus on what matters. So if you're having trouble, tell your HR, your payroll department to check out timetrackgo.com. Don't let time track become a burden. Let time track go simplify your life and help achieve your goals in 2025. And that's www.timetrackgo.com, timetrackgo.com. Let's go.
Let's
Let's go.
go.
All
Hey,
right.
Tony,
Yes,
I had
So,
sir.
a question for
yeah,
you.
there you go.
Um, on call pay, is that something that you have to deal with or something you've dealt with over your career?
So Do you mean like so PRN is so on call? I'm trying to think of like your phrase for on call. What your definition of on? Okay,
Like
so from the
meaning,
house,
yeah,
if like I'm available.
yes,
So unfortunately, I
Right.
haven't been able to I land something on with an on call position, but I have heard
okay,
of it is available for nurses to be able to. They're
Okay.
starting to do, I guess, because of that. Even though COVID was a bad thing, there was a lot of people working from home at the time, right? So even healthcare
hmm
workers, nurses now were
yeah,
managing patients from their homes, and there was on-call doctors, on-call nurses where they were there for for
Wow.
shifts, 12-hour shifts, and unless they had someone have an issue with a machine, a medication, or something, they then at that point they would be contacted by an operator from the from agency or facility they worked for, and then they would take that call and help that person troubleshoot what was going on. Get on the
Mm,
video with them, watch them take their blood pressure, make sure they were taking it correctly with a machine, or checking their sugar and then telling them what to do with their medications or how much to give. A lot of time there are folks who just may need a little bit of direction in taking their meds,
yep.
or
okay.
using different machines. Yeah,
Telemedicine. It
yes,
it really blew up
yes, yes,
telemedicine,
yes.
right?
It did, it
Oh
did.
wow.
Yep,
Yeah,
I even use telemed doctors now because I'm able to call
yeah.
them and I have an idea what I'm talking about, so I just kind of tell them what's going on and go from there.
You you kind of get, yeah. You know what's funny? Mill doesn't always tell doctors that she's a nurse. Do you always, like, when you have to bring your family member in? Do you immediately lead with you're a
N-
nurse or no?
No, no, because I've had bad experiences with it. I've had like
Really?
Oh
because
wow.
you would so in there are places where I work where they would say, "Hey, look, family members, people that work with us, you know, give them a little bit of courtesy, right? Because like in any other
Right.
profession, right? Like cops, like firemen, if it's one of theirs, they're gonna step up, right? And the thing is, we don't want the public to view that as a preference. I'm not gonna bring you, but I'm not gonna take my friend I work with, my coworker, the other nurse, in as a patient ahead of your grandmother who's maybe having heart trouble, which we would never
Right.
do. That's why they have a triage, and then they would appropriately
Right.
bring them in at amongst that time. But they do try to implement, which I believe is legit to do. Is if I have a coworker that comes in, I run to them and I'm like, yo, what's up? What do you need? I get them inside a room if
Right.
I can, get them whatever they need right away, and get them in and out if that's what they need to do, or get them where they need to get,
Yeah.
because this is somebody who's going to provide care to hundreds of other people when they're on.
Right.
So let's get them
Right.
fixed up. That's the way I see it, because I try to also
I
view it
like
from
that.
a business standpoint, and from a point of like, hey, we got to throw these scrubs on in our cape together every day. I want to
Yep.
make sure they're good, even if I don't know them. So I one
Yep.
time had one of the MMA guys that I was training with. He popped his shoulder on the mats, which sometimes happens, right? And I might have mentioned, I told the nurse I was a nurse when we went to the ER, because we went to a different ER. And then when the provider came in with the nurse again, I think I might have mentioned it again. And I wasn't looking for nothing. It's just like out of habit, I sometimes say it.
Right.
And she turned around, she was like, I know you told us. Okay. And I was like, word,
Oh
like,
damn.
damn, like, nice bedside man, a nice
Yeah.
respect. Thank you. But I just let it
Yeah,
rock.
for
What can I
real.
do to change that, lady? Nothing I could say right then. I just didn't.
Yeah.
The only way I would ever entertain someone like that is if I was able to properly tell her she was an asshole without calling her a name, like if I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
choose my point to like show her why everything she said is wrong in life.
Yeah,
But
for real.
otherwise,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's nothing I can do to change that lady. Eloquently way.
I get it.
Right.
What I was saying when you when we missed you for a moment is, like, you know, what we urge a lot is, don't be afraid to talk to your HR and your payroll department and say, "Hey, walk me through
Yeah.
this."
Mm,
Right? If they're a good payroll department, like, I think again, what makes us really good is, like, we like helping our customers, and our customers are our coworkers, right? The people we pay. So shoot, I would stay, if I could just be customer service payroll all day, I would love it. Just take calls and, yep, I can help you walk through that and the issues. Like, those are some of the easier problems, whereas processing is more difficult. You know, so don't but point is, don't be afraid to reach out to them. And if you got to make an appointment or get on a calendar, like, yes, you may have
Mhm.
to do that, accommodate them in that respect on their time. But a good department is going to walk you through what everything means, and also be in
Yeah.
compliance, because any hospital in the US is worried about being in compliance. And that, more than ever these days, is important to HR and payroll departments, is to be in compliance. And if you approach them like, hey, I just want to understand, and they should, a good department is going to help you and walk you through it, and and kind of make sure that you're good. Like, because for me, it's transparency. I do a lot of things in payroll, so my
Mhm.
customer, you can understand what's on their paycheck. For the ones that actually are looking at their check, this is actually a time of year where I get to say, hey, you should have looked at your check all year, because now they're coming and they're complaining about some of the things that now they're seeing on their W-2. Their address is wrong. I had one guy that got the wrong state
Oh
withheld for a
wow.
whole year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
didn't notice it until his W-2 came up, and I was like, bro, like, you should have told me that, a
So
year
there was
ago,
something
and we would have
recently that
fixed it.
changed with the W-2s and how much federal tax was being withheld. Something with the IRS where I believe it was like 2 years ago. I think they changed the forms, and you know how you put all zeros and then they do the deduction
Yes.
themselves. They break it down.
Yes.
You had to put what you wanted deducted, and I had to go to my accountant and kind of
Yes.
figure that out with him because that was no longer happening. Like half of my paycheck, there was no deductions, and I felt like almost like betrayed for a sense, right? Because anytime it comes to like money
Yeah.
or your health and something is not right, you feel betrayed by that person.
Yes.
And
Yes.
usually, like, I'm glad you said that about even going to HR because it's not something that I would ever even think to do because usually, luckily, the place I work, my managers, there's three or four of them. They're in an office and they're always available to and they'll walk you through it. And if something's wrong,
Oh, and if
they'll
they, oh,
fix it
there
right
you go.
then and
Yeah,
there.
if
They
they,
explain,
there you go.
but to a limit because they also look at it like sometimes I'm not sure why that's like that, or I'm not sure. You forget that HR is,
Exactly.
is also an availability because that's
Yes.
not even something that they should always be bothered with, I guess. And if it is some, you know,
Your manager, maybe not,
right?
no,
Because they got other
but
so many other
yes,
things going on.
HR
But
and payroll,
HR and
whoever,
payroll,
like
that's their
the
thing,
payroll
yes.
department cutting that, yes,
So
that is definitely their job to help you understand and to make sure you're comfortable with
and
what's going
something
on
else
in your stuff.
that is new, I believe, is that HR is not necessarily on site. We have a small HR department. It's like two or three ladies in there.
Yeah,
I
they can
really
be remote.
don't know them too well, but I went once or twice, maybe for quick questions. But I do believe like our HR, the main office, is out in another
It can
state.
be remote. Yeah, pretty much most of what HR and payroll do can be done remotely, especially in like a hospital system like that, where you may have,
Yeah,
the main hospitals in another state, like you said, and that's where they sit. So even more so, get on the calendar, make an appointment with them, like, just, what I call rules of engagement,
yes.
right? Because this same thing goes for
Okay.
us. Like, when, if I need to reach out to a nurse, I got to be sensitive to, like, wait a minute, when is a good time to actually reach? Right now, I support retail stores. Like, I don't want to bother them when they're in the middle of sales, so I want to catch them on a downtime. When is it slow? You know what
Yes.
I mean? Come in a little early or leave a little late and jump on the phone with me then. I took calls yesterday on Sunday because it was convenient for them. You know what I mean? They don't realize that I'm off because we're open 7 days a week. Like, and I don't, I wasn't gonna be like, oh, I'm home about to watch the Super Bowl
Yeah.
right now. Like, you're
Yeah.
bothering me. Like, no, it's, you need help, I got you. Whip my laptop open, boom, 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 and I got you. So yeah, I mean, look, as long as the rules of engagement are respected, you should be able to reach out to them and get help for whatever you need when it comes to your check, benefits, earning, codes. Well, they throw a new code in there and you don't know what it means. It's like, wait, what is this code? And a lot of times the check can't hold the description of the code. So it's just like
Yeah.
B41, and you're like,
Yes. Yeah.
B41, what's this? So yeah, man. Very cool. Very cool. Anything else that we can share regarding, well, Walt, you had another question, no?
No, just why, in your opinion, Tony, why should somebody get into nursing?
it's not for everyone, right? But if someone does have like a special, it's a female driven industry to begin with, nursing. I think it's changing now. There was a time I remember in
Hmm.
Long
I
Island.
think
I
it's
had
just a
I
stereotype.
had I had
Yeah.
mentioned to Brian that I I had like I was like one of the only males that I knew of that was a male nurse, and I was working for an agency,
Hmm.
and I'd go to a lot of different places, and there's not a lot of males. Like even my dad would make jokes sometimes when I first got into it. Oh, this is my son Tony. He's a female nurse. Like I don't know why.
Wow.
Look at this guy laughing, the bully. Look, you're
Well,
not supposed to laugh, right? So
no, because I know your
yes, yes,
father. Like I know,
yes.
and what I wanted to share is like is very macho,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
He's
He's old
old
school.
school,
Yes,
macho, right?
yes.
Type dude, like
And he
stand up
does respect
guy.
the profession, and he respects me.
Of course he
But as a
does.
joke, just to bust my chops, just like
Yes.
everybody else at first. But I know that the same people who always like made a joke or whatever, I would laugh with them because I know later on they're gonna circle around and be like, hey, I got this little pain in my back. What do you think it is?
Yep.
And I'm able to
Exactly.
laugh then and say, oh, you need a little help from your
Oh, now you
uh
need help.
so
But no, you're true because when I go and visit Mill on the floor, it's predominantly
females, yes.
female. And
But
yeah,
I best decision I ever made. I love my career. I do enjoy
that's
taking
dope.
care of people. I learn something every day. I'm real big on on
That's
on
awesome.
not ever like acting like I know it all, because you can't, and I don't, right? So
Yes. Stay
and
teachable.
you have to stay
Yes.
teachable. And I'm a student of life. I feel like every day I learn something that I'm able to
I like
apply
that.
in the ER that's not necessarily in a textbook or taught. So one of the nurses was upset the other
Love that.
day, and excuse the phrase, I'm gonna curse, but I said, until you own the hospital, we gotta eat shit. So just get comfortable eating shit. Like
Yeah.
then you can make your own rules and how you want to change.
Yeah.
Unless you're in leadership or you're an owner, like
Even
you're a
then,
soldier, be
yep.
the soldier. Like be
Yeah.
the soldier,
Be a
be a
good
good
soldier.
soldier. Like because
Yeah.
it's not being I've heard the phrase company man or something like that, before, but I feel like if we're doing like such meaningful work with our with our
Yeah.
with our hands, like helping people, like at
Yeah.
every level, even the nursing assistants who help us, to take vital signs, or the person in the hospital who's transporting, or the housekeeper who's, that's the first level, the housekeeper, right? If you're keeping everything disinfected, because we have tons of kids running around touching stuff. One kid comes in, he's sick, touches some. The next kid that comes in, if that wasn't wiped down, so that's going to
Yep.
be your first level of protection in the hospital. So it's all on perception, right? On how you view things in
I
life.
love
And
it.
for me, like I was able to see this early on, and how much it meant, and how and it's also a respectful profession. People, you tell people you're a nurse,
Yeah.
you're a paramedic, you're an EMT, you're in healthcare, like they respect that, like
Hmm.
and there's a lot of different kinds of work I've done. I wish I would have doubled down sometimes and pursued my nursing career further somehow. And there's still
It's
time.
still not
It's
too
still not
late.
too late.
That's
And
right. We were just talking
yes, and
about
the
this. It's
facility I
not too
work for has
late.
offered, they pay for your
Yes.
school and stuff like that. So I'm gonna do it. I'm absolutely gonna do it.
Bro, I think you should teach. I think you should do it because there's a lot of like, I think that you approach it from a very unique place. Like we talk about it on the show all the time. Like go above and beyond. Like that's the only way you
Yes, yes,
grow. It's not about oh you're a company
yeah,
man and because I hear you. I've heard that as
mm,
well. And oh Brian, but Walt this and that. Like no, like we're not. We're we're doing the best that we can. Like it's you know what I
yes,
mean. Like it's like having pride in what you do, no
Yeah.
matter how you do anything is how you do
yes,
everything.
yes, absolutely.
And I hear that in you and people like other healthcare first liners should need to be taught like from people like you because unfortunately there are more people not like you in the jobs trying to oh this sucks and why don't they do this why don't they do that complaining about the
Yes.
work and they need people like you to kind of help put it in perspective like every little thing matters and bro I think you need to keep growing man so you could teach and
So
you got plenty of
yeah,
time we're still
yeah,
young as
yeah, hell
hell.
yeah. But right, um, I definitely always look at things as I'm letting my higher power guide me. Like like he put me in this
Good.
emergency
That's
room
what's
that
up.
I'm at today, and every young person that I come across, like, and it's hard sometimes to speak to younger generations because it can even become frustrating at times. Not that I would ever stop,
I'm sure.
because I probably sound like a broken record when they see Tony coming, but you kind of life teaches you as you go, and the harder the
Hmm.
falls are, the more you learn at times. And
Yeah.
when that happens to me, sometimes I get frustrated in that moment and I'm upset about something that may have happened, but when I'm able to sit back and say, this was a lesson, like I'm supposed to be right where I am to learn this, because without learning
Hmm.
this portion right here, I wouldn't have been able to move on. I'm here with you right
That's
now,
right.
kicking it. We've done some cool stuff in our lives, together and separately, coming from where we came from, and being able to kind of see the bigger picture of life, right? Because life isn't just about like what I'm driving, or who I'm
Hmm.
hanging out with, or
Yep.
what how I'm having fun. Like it's just so much bigger. Like I'm able to do things and be an example for like my kids, for my nephews. Like I'm that uncle, and I take
Exactly.
pride in that.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I don't I think I might have cursed on you twice, but I try not to curse at work. Like it's real big
It's
for
all
me
right.
to like not curse, because I feel like it shows that you're able to kind of speak, and whatever you may be going through, you're able to express it, and articulate it
Hmm.
in so many other ways than
Yep.
just cursing. If there's any ignorance,
Yeah.
it's in cursing, I think, at times, and people may say,
Yeah.
well, it feels good for that moment, whatever, and that's fine. Just understand there's
Hmm.
other words that you can express how you're feeling and why you're feeling that. Then that one word, and that person will be able to now maybe give you a response and make you feel better and say, oh, I didn't know I made you feel that way. What can I do to make
Hmm.
it make that
Hmm.
different? Because some
And especially from guys like us, like we're big and brawly already, so we're cursing is like more
yeah,
aggressive. I'm loud, so now if I add cursing to that, now I'm being really aggressive.
yes,
So it's, bro. I have a note right here that my daughter that I wrote because of my daughter speaks
yeah,
often. So and it's because
yeah,
get
yeah, hyper alert, yeah.
tense up because if my voice
Hmm.
goes up, so yeah, I think that's really important, man. You said something about broken record. Like, don't afraid to be the broken record, because it takes people hearing something 11 times, I believe it is, right, Walt, before
Yeah.
it sticks. 11 times they got to hear something before it has a chance of sticking, in my opinion. So don't be afraid, man. I think you have teacher
And
and
let me
leader
tell you,
in your educator in your future,
sometimes
bro.
that
Definitely.
broken record is so that I'm reminded. Like
No doubt.
Yeah.
when
Hell
I
yeah.
even when I still sometimes teach boxing or jujitsu on the side. I do like private lessons,
See?
and I was just telling somebody like they were, they was like, hey, I'm available to take the lesson on Tuesday, da da da. And I was like, I promise, I'm more excited than you are, because I get to brush up on my skills, right? I get to now like
Yes.
practice my form and make
That's
sure
right.
I'm teaching it
That's
appropriately,
right.
right?
Yep.
So
That's
definitely
dope.
sometimes,
That's dope, man.
just going over things again helps me remember the whys and the hows and and
Yep.
whatever philosophy is behind what I try to do.
That's what's
Yes,
up, man.
sir.
So
That's what's
look,
up.
look, look, I'm not gonna take up any more of your time,
Thank
bro.
you,
We
brother. I
really
appreciate you
appreciated you
guys.
taking out the time. Yeah, man, no
Yes,
doubt.
Appreciate you.
sir.
And look, you have a open forum. This is your home, your platform. Anytime you need to come on and talk about something, let's
Let's
do it.
do it.
We actually gonna start a new segment or a new. We I had originally said, "Oh, we don't have the time," but Walt was like, "No, let's just do one a month on our. We're already recording. We're gonna do. One of the acronyms we use is IAP. It's about payroll,
Okay.
right? But Walt loves acronyms, and he's like, "Wait, it's also about people.
Fine.
IAP. It's about people."
Yes.
So we're gonna take one show and just kind of talk about like things
Life.
that impact us and people, and how people feeling about Trump right
Yeah.
now, all these things that are going on,
Ties
so
into so
yeah.
many things that you're doing, because, like you were saying, even with the state
Exactly.
tax, right? Like,
Yep.
as much as a governing agency is something good for the state, everyone is afraid of government right now, right? Everyone is like, no, no,
Yes.
Trump
Yeah.
said we shouldn't have
Yeah.
government. Let's not have government, And you
Hmm.
get
Yep.
a lot of that, especially in the southern states. I feel like, you know, uh,
Oh yeah.
I don't want to like offend nobody, but it almost seems like a lack of education in the subject and then they're so
Hmm.
vocal about the little bit that they do know or they do see, like if
Yes.
they're
Yes.
preaching it out there, and then all of a sudden they get these
Yes.
followers of, no, this is the way it should be just because of this principle. And you're like, hold on, there's so much more to that. There's so much more is affected.
Yeah.
Um, but my
Yeah.
my my
Pretty
my
much.
daughter lives in New York. She lives in in Queens right now. She's a speech pathologist, and
Oh,
her
dope.
husband is an Italian musician. So she's
Oh,
got to go
wow.
through immigration processes. She's like so upset. Like, people don't know what they're doing. Like, this is not
Yeah.
affecting just
It's
the
tough.
Latin communities that they think that all these bad people. This is like,
No.
there's
Yeah.
the people from so many countries here that do so much. There's so many crafts,
Hmm.
and here we are telling them they got, scaring them to come out, because even when they come to the ER, everybody's Puerto Rican now. Nobody says where they're from, right? Like, I made the mistake and I asked somebody the other day. I could hear the Colombian coming out of his voice, right? And then all of a
Right.
sudden,
Right.
I was like, where you guys from or whatever. Not, I did it innocently, forgetting politics,
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
because that's
Instinctively,
what
just
Latin people
yeah,
do
innocently.
sometimes, right? You connect with them, you
Yes.
tell them how
Yeah.
good their
We
food is.
always. Yeah.
And he was like, no,
Yep.
I'm Puerto Rican. I was like, oh, okay. And then it
Oh, that's
clicked. As soon
funny.
as he said it, it clicked. I was like, oh, he's
Because
scared.
Wow.
He's
that's
scared. Like,
interesting,
because they
bro.
said now there's no sanctuary, no
Wow.
hospital, no churches. They can come get them wherever. So
Wow.
I
See, I didn't
I
even
felt
realize
bad
that.
even asking him, because I felt like they sometimes, when people come to the ER, they automatically think the nurses are going to call 911 if they think they're breaking a law. Like, I've had
Oh,
people say,
wow.
I got my card. That's why my eyes are red. I smoke, but like telling on themselves. Like, hold on, that's not. I didn't ask you none of that. Like, I'm not.
Nobody's that.
Nobody's interested in that. I need the urine to check for something else. Make sure you don't got kidney stones. She's like,
Oh
no, I know what
man.
you're doing. I was like, nah, I'm checking for kidney stones. I
No.
promise. She's like, I have a card. They can't arrest me. But
That's
yep,
hilarious.
yep, yep.
But you know what? When we do have a question of the day, though, before we let you go, do you think first responders get the respect they deserve?
So first responders is a huge term, right? Like, that's EMT, that's paramedic, that's, would
Yep.
you consider that police? So, and then there's nurses,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Hmm.
But nurses are in that
yes,
bucket,
yes,
though,
yes.
right?
Because
Okay.
sometimes they don't include them, even on, like, on
Oh, really?
discounts for first responders. It's usually paramedics, EMT, police, not even ER nurses
Really?
necessarily.
Wow.
So look at that. So no, they're not
You
getting the
got to kind of
respect they
like
deserve.
explain to them where you work and why and what you do. Like, I've had to tell people, look, I'm not a
Wow.
paramedic or EMT, but I work in the ER. Da, da, da. It's like, and then now you're negotiating for that 10% discount or whatever,
Wow, that's
right?
crazy.
So
Wow.
nurses, but sometimes I like that we're in a category of our own, because I still would like us to. I still think that we can respect. First of all, everybody deserves respect for what they do, because it all matters, right?
Absolutely. Amen.
Nurses, I
Amen.
don't think people view them the way that they used to. I think COVID and politics put a weird cloud on healthcare. And I used to, like,
Hmm.
tell people, I don't think there's I don't know, because you never know, but there's no, like, Dr. Evil saying, ooh, I put COVID out there to, like, hurt you, or this vaccine, like, I have the antidote.
Right.
This ain't a cartoon. People out there really dying. Like, I've seen, like,
Yeah.
the grandma, like, waving to her daughter through a window during COVID. Like, I was there for that. You know
Wow.
what I mean? I saw stuff
Yeah.
like that, them crying from not knowing if they would ever see each other again. You know what I mean? And then,
Wow.
so that family went through that trauma, but think about how many times that nurse has went through that, right? Because
Yeah.
we end up
Seen that,
taking
yeah.
that in. Like, I sometimes, there's things that I've seen or been part of that I'll never forget. Unfortunately, I'll never forget
Yeah.
when I was 20 years old and I was tech in an ER in New York, and the Mexican kid who fell off the roof, and I was just helping my dad do roofs that week, and know that they was trying to
Wow.
send him to Mexico because they didn't want to have to now care for this kid who fell
Wow.
off of a roof. I I've seen
That's
a lot of
crazy.
things where just, like, it was a lot of unfair situations that makes you think, like, why, why
Yeah.
Yep.
why us, why now, why here, why does this happen? And all
Wow.
I could imagine is that everything in life is done for a reason. There's a lesson behind things, and that's something that my son told me one time. And I'll leave that long story for another day. But he said to me, I said, if God is so great, why do these things keep happening? He said, because there's always a lesson you may not be able to see. And he said, you take care of sick people every day, and that's how you take care of us. But that
Wow.
part
Your
for that,
son said
yes,
that?
at like 8 years old, he was saving me. He told me to sit down and that he had to talk with me because he didn't know if I was saved or not, and he wanted to make sure
Oh,
we went to heaven together. Crazy, right? It gives me
wow.
goosebumps because it almost
Yeah, yeah.
felt like it made me just look at life differently and know that there's a higher power. I don't know what his name is, I don't know who he is, but if let's give him God, God is
Agreed.
there, and he was speaking through my son that day, and he was
Wow.
telling me something. I still haven't totally figured it out, but I
No
know that
doubt.
we are all here for a reason, and everything that happens is a lesson learned, and we have to grow from that for sure.
Yes, sir. Man.
But
It's a great,
I'm
great
tied in
place
with
to
y'all,
leave it.
man. Just let me know when you
Awesome.
whenever I can help with anything.
No
I
doubt.
enjoy
Thank
I
you, bro.
enjoyed
Yes,
being
sir.
able to get this
Appreciate you.
off my chest. I was nervous all day. I was
You've been nervous for
yes,
weeks.
yes, yes, yes. There,
I told him, I was like, it's just gonna be a
and,
conversation.
It's
We're
a
gonna talk.
natural, man. You're a natural.
and
Isn't he?
there's so many
I knew
there's
he
so
was
many
gonna be
like
fine.
stories that come to mind as soon as I say things. But even about being nervous or having anxiety when patients would come in at times and they're telling me, I so I've had like a young man. He's like 20 years old, Diesel, right? And you don't want to give me his arm so I can like get his blood, right? And his mom is like holding his hand or whatever, right? And then his girl will be sitting on a chair with the baby, and I'm just like hold on a second. I tell everybody, sit down and chill for a minute. I said, listen, one day you're gonna have to like your kid. You're gonna have to like if they're here and I have to check them out. You're gonna have to face your fear and tell them like I went through this little ant like it's gonna be okay. It's gonna pinch. Like it doesn't hurt that bad. This is the time for you to do it because now you have to man up for your son one day that you're responsible for. And now he's gonna be looking to you with fear in his eyes, saying, Dad, like, is this okay? And you need to be able to tell him, like, this is okay, man. I got you. Like I've been through this
Yeah.
part, right? Something as simple as that.
Yeah.
And there's so many times, stories that bigger than that that I've used that example where like,
Yeah.
sometimes we just have to face our fears. Even with fighting, I told you, I as as much as I put on that persona of being tough and knowing and fighting when I was a kid, like I ended up learning. I always knew I was scared to fight, so I ended up going and learning how to fight, so I never had to fight again, right? Because now I know how to fight. Like there is no
Right.
if this guy hits me with a sucker punch or not. Like I just know I'm going
Right.
to get the best. Like so I don't have that dream no more of somebody me punching somebody soft. Like because I know in my head now I face that fear already. I'm over that hurdle. I no longer
Yeah.
had to be scared about that. It's not an anxiety no more.
Yes,
So and not a lot of men will admit that, man. And I tell people all the
Yeah.
time, like it's okay, like to be scared. It's what you do with that fear. Like, will you grow? Will you rise from that occasion? I've had one time I was in Yonkers, uh, a place called Animals MMA was the first place where I started like really training, and a guy walked in and he street dude, right? Spanish kid, looked tough, and he's like, we set up for the, make a long story short, we set up, we're doing the lesson. And I'm like, all right, you're gonna throw the punch and hit this pad right here. And he threw it like throwing a softball. He went like that with his punch. And I was like,
Mhm.
started laughing because I thought he was joking. I thought he was like, okay, like, no, no, for real, come on. And he did it again. And I had to like hold back the laugh or the tears, right? And like realize nobody ever taught this man how to throw a punch,
How to punch.
right? Like
Wow.
I mean, there's a whole lesson behind how to throw a punch, but so I had to teach him like from the basics, and I'm sure
Yeah.
if I would have got into the conversation with him, he would have probably told me nobody ever taught me, how to throw
Yeah.
a punch
Yeah.
and or
Yeah.
took the time to I don't know like explain it to because even an average person could throw a punch like throw it like a baseball like a haymaker or something, he threw
Right.
his punch like a sword like
Mhm.
he was.
I mean, yeah, but I get it though. I mean, because none. I mean, I had older brothers that taught me
So
how
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
throw a
and or
punch,
out of instinct, sometimes
but we
watching
fought.
somebody how to punch, you kind of
Yeah.
get it. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of people walking around the streets like that instead of saying, "Hey, I don't know how to do this." and taking a lesson on it, they give a loud bark,
Yeah.
and then you think they know how to do
And you hope.
something,
Yep.
and then unfortunately
Yep.
they don't.
You hope you don't have to
Yeah,
fight. Like I've told you before, I've benefited from just being
yeah,
big, and people being like, he must know how to fight.
yeah.
Like,
I yeah,
maybe.
yeah. I've I had a guy one time in the ER. He had his kid in his arm, and he had just came home and he was fighting with his girl and all that, right? And as soon as I walked up, he started taking his chain off, started taking his stuff off. He was like, "What's up?" He was like, "I'm ready," and I was like, "I'm not. I got my scrubs on." And he starts laughing. And he like looked at me confused because I'm the one that I'm tatted up. My scrub is like
Right. He thought
ripping
you were
off.
coming to
He thought
thump.
I was coming, but I'm coming for him. But I
Yep.
was like, Pop, I'm not here for that. I'm here to protect you. I'm not gonna let nobody touch you, or especially while you got your little
That's
baby in
crazy.
your
I
hands.
love that. I
And when
love
the
that,
cops
bro.
and security and everybody
Word.
came, he was like, I'm not talking to nobody unless the nurse is with me, because I already told them I got you. Like I'm not gonna let nobody hurt
Wow.
you,
That's what's up, bro.
That's
right?
amazing,
And
bro.
think of
That's
what I
amazing.
avoided that man, that little girl at that moment, because we were able to
Yeah.
ultimately like diffuse it. And it was just him arguing loud with his girl. Like he was a big
Right.
kid, and he was and you could just tell he
Wow.
just came home. Like he still had that, I guess, mentality. But
Yeah, head on a
yeah,
swivel.
yeah,
Like
yeah, he was
he's
ready. He
yeah.
was ready.
Wow.
There's so many little
Wow.
stories like that, but we
We're gonna
have
have
to.
you back,
All
bro.
right.
When we do it's about people episode, we're gonna
Yeah.
figure out what's a good nice subject. Or if you think of anything, let me know and we'll plan it
All
out.
right, for sure.
Yo, thanks for coming on, bro. I love you, man.
Love you.
Yo, before you get off, hold on and let's we can stop the